Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hey, Roberta's Artistic Adventures and Rem's Family Farm. Thank you so much for coming in, and thank you for the thumbs up, too. Super appreciate that. So today we have joining us Annie with Back to Basics Homestead.
Hello.
And hey, Lisa, how are you doing?
Doing good. How about yourself?
Doing good.
Ooh, sorry,
And hey, Lisa, how are you doing?
Sorry, I just wanted to make sure the notification went out and I got the chat up in case
you.
I need to moderate for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
No problem. But yeah, we're just winter storm prep.
Mm-hmm.
We got everything done yesterday, and today we'll get everybody clean water again from town, and then we will from here on out we will be doing buckets from the house because we're going to be really cold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Milk and honey.
Crazy cold. Good morning, Milk and Honey, or afternoon.
Or good evening.
Negative 40 something cold, right?
Yeah, they're saying now we're going to get, they said it was 6 to 12. Now it's, I think, 8 to 12 or 12 to 14 inches of snow, which I'll believe when I see because it's missed us all year. And we're expecting temps below zero in the negative teens, and then we're going to have 50-mile-per-hour winds making the wind chill. So I did something different, which I wanted to tell you about, Tammy.
Okay.
Is for the pigs, because of the precipitation with the wind and the cold, I have to keep them dry, and the wind is going to be from all different crazy directions. So what I'm doing is I attached blankets to their doors. And so they can walk in and out to get water because you can't put water in their barn. They'll knock it over and it'll be wet.
Yeah, and then they'll be on ice.
Right. So I'm pretty excited about that, and they're loving it because they just keep walking in and out.
Aww. And then it blocks the wind to give them a little more insulation from the weather. Nice.
Yeah. I like and you know where Norman's coming.
Yes.
Norman is a 6-month-old Cooney pig that we had last summer, and we plan to keep, siblings with him. But we had lost them, so Norman is by himself, and he's too small to go with the bigger pigs, Annie. So he ends up coming into my uninsulated wood room during times like this.
He's lucky.
He is, but he's at risk of hypothermia, so we bring him inside, and then, of course, I have to bring him out to play every once in a while.
Is he big?
He's under 50 pounds. He's probably about 30 pounds.
Okay, so like a bigger dog.
Yeah. Let's see.
A short one.
I'm going to show you a picture of him. Coonies are a heritage pig, and they grow really, really slow.
Cooney, isn't that like pet pigs?
What's that?
Isn't that pet pigs?
No, he's not. Well, he's a pet pig, but Coonies are like known for meat pigs, so that's his size.
Or is that the one that has the two tendrils here?
Yeah, they have the wattles. Yep.
Okay. I don't raise pigs, so I'm not very familiar.
That's all right. I'm a crazy pig lady.
She's raising him to be a therapy pig too, which I think is so cool. Real quick, I just want to say hi to Ecocentric Homestead. Good to see that you got the notification. Awesome.
Yeah, that's cool.
And hello, his sweetie. Thank you for coming in.
Ecocentric Homestead is always pops up on my lives. Me too.
That's awesome.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah, and the notification did go out right away this time. I was impressed.
Very cool.
Sometimes it's a delay.
Like 10 minutes sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh, sometimes I have it the next day.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
You want to know the other day I got notified of comments. Well, one time I got notified of like 30-ish comments that were anywhere from 3 months to 2 years ago.
Holy smokes.
And the other day, I just got a bunch that were 3 to 6 months old. I got about 4 of them. So weird.
I never had that. Sometimes I don't get notification at all.
Yep.
And it's because I clicked on another previous comment, and then I scroll down to make sure I answered everything, because mom brain, sometimes you forget.
Yep.
And I was looking at a comment, I was like, I don't remember seeing a comment. I don't remember seeing a notification of this comment. And I went back to my notification center, and he wasn't there. So YouTube is not flawless.
Mm-hmm.
Well said.
Well, none of us are flawless, so we have to embrace our imperfections.
And I don't have any young kids here, so I don't have a mom brain. So I was going to say it's not even mom brain. It's just, life.
Life brain.
Mm-hmm.
Squirrel.
Yeah, squirrel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. So Annie, do you want to take a minute and just share with everybody a little bit about your channel?
Sure. So my name's Annie. I am a Canadian in the province of Quebec. I am super close from the province of Ontario. And like I was saying to you guys, I'm about 6 to 8 hours from New York, to give you a perspective. Mm-hmm. And I'm a mom of 3 kids. My daughter's 10, my middle child going to be 9, and my youngest is 6. My last boy is 6. Mm-hmm. We've decided on a leap of faith 5 years ago for me to stop working. Mm-hmm. And to
woohoo!
Yeah,
exciting.
Yeah, I had a career and everything, and then when we found out I was pregnant with baby number 3, our minds kind of circle around the thought of me stopping working. And I was looking for ideas to replace my salary. Mm-hmm. And homesteading came into one of them, growing your own food, raising your own food. And I walked down that path, and we just took a leap of faith, stop working, give my resignation. I was working for 10 years. Mm-hmm. And from there, I just built from scratch on 1/3 of an acre land, a garden. Sorry, my dog's going to bark. That's okay.
I'm used to that. I have a bulldog.
No, my husband just arrived from work.
And everyone in the chat, I am pinning Annie's channel to the chat so that you can go over there and support her and check her out.
Thank you. So that's it. So we bought land, 1/3 of an acre, and we built it from scratch. There was nothing here. There was the house. That's awesome. So a century-old home that needed a lot of love and a shed. Mm-hmm. I started with a 30 by 30 garden in ground on clay, 100% clay soil. Mm-hmm. And it took me 3 years to build that soil. Mm-hmm. From there, I decided I was going to do raised beds. Because clay soils are very hard to work with. Yep. And my soil kind of sits on a rock. So you have my house and it goes like this. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of hard to have 16 feet long beds at the edge of my property. So raised beds was the only way to solve that problem and solve the problem of clay soil. Mm-hmm. So I have about 8 to 10 raised beds, and I added 2 years ago a high tunnel. Mm-hmm. Sorry. Okay. And then I added a converted tempo structure for a greenhouse. Mm-hmm. So I grow in multiple ways, and I'm in zone 5. Mm-hmm. And so maybe that's that. And I try to grow as much food as I can without causing my mental health problems. So there's things I can grow, and there's things I have decided I cannot, like potatoes. I do grow some of my meat. I raise birds. Every 2 years, I raise turkeys, and every year we raise about 20 to 40 meat birds. Mm-hmm. The rest of our meat, we have someone that raises a pork for us, and we go pick it up at the butcher. Mm-hmm. And my channel is all about that. So I don't have a specific niche. It's really homesteading, gardening, cooking, baking from scratch, and ways to be frugal.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's the niche. I mean, it's homesteading.
Yeah. But it's not every single week it's gardening. There's weeks that it's gardening. There's weeks that it's the good, the bad, and ugly. Some days it's the failures. Some days it's the success. So it's a loop.
Yep.
of the homestead.
Anny, can I interrupt you for just a minute?
Yeah.
Shift kicker, and I know that's where Mountain Grandma was going. Shift kicker, go, go, go. And please take care of yourself. Much love to you and feel better, please.
I missed that.
Darn it. Sorry about that fall on the ice. If you've got bruises and you're banged up and stuff too, email me and I'll send you something that might help.
Yeah, feel better. Go rest now. It's an order.
Yes, rest is warm bath. I did fell down my stairs once. I did Epsom salt, warm bath, lots of water, lots of rest.
Lots of water. Hey, Gail, thank you so much. Gail's Crafts and Coupons, appreciate you hopping in.
I kind of lost track of where I was going. Did I answer all your questions?
You did. I wanted you to share with us. I love the name of your channel. Do you want to share with us the story behind? I know you have a video on this.
Yeah, my first video or second video that launched on my YouTube channel 2 years ago was where the name come from. And we were hesitant between Back to Basics Homestead and the Rustic Homestead because
both good channel names.
Yeah, and we went back and forth, and we just went with the one that felt the more true to us and where we wanted to go. So we were literally going back to basics because I needed to stop working. I needed to cover my salary, and homesteading was part of that solution, but I needed to learn how to bake, how to cook, because when you buy in bulk and cook from scratch, you bring the cost down of every single meal. So being
especially now, right? Especially now.
Well, 5 years ago, things for us, like when there were 5 cents or 10 cents more expensive, I couldn't afford them. So they needed to stay on the racks, because the first 3-4 years when you cut your salary is the hardest, because I had a career of 10 years, 4 weeks of vacation. I was in a very well position. So the first year for us was really to be frugal and starting to raise our own meat, starting to raise our own food from no background. I have no agriculture background. No aunt, no niece, no cousin, nothing. So I had to figure it out on my own. And going back to basics was for us to be reconnected with our ancestry, with our soil, with our roots, and living a simpler life, to let go of the rat race. So we kind of, the name comes around that. And the Rustic Homestead was because we picked up everything on the curb. Free on the curb, recycled, reused, upcycled, hand-me-downs. And that's why we were hesitant between both, because our house is rustic, our homestead is rustic, but it did not fit with the mission that we had.
I love that name.
And then now with 2 years, we're still in the pandemic, but you look at things like sourdough, it's back to basics. Baking bread, it's back to basics. Growing your own food, you're going back to your roots. You're going back to basics. So now it actually has more meaning. Even if I was hesitant to change the name, I wouldn't, because it represents everything that we're trying to do here.
Absolutely. One question for you. So as you went back to basics and you're self-taught, so you didn't grow up around a garden or raising animals, things like that. What did you find that was the most challenging? And what kind of advice would you give anybody else who is kind of starting at that starter place of going back to basics?
Well, I would say while you're in waiting, learn as much as you can. So the 9 months period of me deciding to stop working, I was on YouTube every single night. I found channels that were speaking my love language and my values. There's a lot of channel out there that educate on chicken raising your own food, which type of seeds, and every single night I spent at least 2 hours learning,
Studying and
studying, taking notes, and finding my flavor, because it's okay to learn, but you're only going to truly deeply learn if you try it.
That's right. Real quick, hello, our treasured home and Blue Self-Reliance. Good to see you both. Thank you all so much for coming in. Go ahead, Lisa.
I was going to say, a little caveat there with learning from YouTube, from my experience and what I found is sometimes there's flaws.
Yeah.
In that learning.
Well, because you're not in the same growing zone sometimes, so it's different.
Agreed. I think for me, and this is solely for me, is that sometimes I find something sounds really good, and it's really not. Especially when you don't know.
Yeah.
So just a caveat for folks is, and I teach stuff on YouTube also, but I always say this is what I do.
Yep.
It may not work for you and it may not be the right way, but it's working for us right now. But then, I'll give you a case in point. We watch all these castration videos on piglets, tons of them. I was so tired of watching castration videos, but we really needed to refresh my husband's memory, and we were doing it. We castrated a piglet and we lost him, and that was because it had a scrotal hernia, and no one talks about that. No one ever mentions castration gone wrong. So here we were in a very difficult situation, because if you know what that is, they're dying immediately.
Yeah. Well, they bleed out.
Right. And also because intestines are exposed to the air. So
it's not a pretty sight.
No. And it's one of those things where you go to do it, you think it's fine, it goes bad, and then you're in this situation of like, what do I do? And that's just, I didn't mean to be graphic for our listeners, so I apologize for that, but that's reality.
It is.
So I just bring that point up because it's funny. Everybody just shows it went great.
Yeah, it went great.
Perfect. And I'm sitting there like this.
Yeah. I try to be, obviously I live in a glass house by showing my life on YouTube. I do have some things that I do not want to share.
Sure.
But the failures, I find they are much more important to share than the success. Both of them are important, but I'd rather say I messed up. I showed you a way that I was doing something, but I messed up. Learn from my mistakes, learn from my success, and do whatever feels like you. This is what I keep saying. And when I was watching 5 years ago, the content was way different than today. Not everyone was into the lifestyle that I wanted to go into. First of all, I was called a crazy cuckoo, all the names, because I was dropping my retirement plan, my career to grow food and raise chickens. I was like, I was the crazy one. Ironically, the people that call me crazy are now the one asking me questions. So.
And want some food.
Yeah, and they want some food. But look, it's okay. It's okay. Everyone has a journey to do. And the content I was watching was more related to raising my own food, because we knew that we could not raise animals here other than meat birds and chickens. So chickens, I started with Justin Rhodes, and he had like this Chicken Academy course, like 101 course, and it was free at the time. And like I took so many notes, and then I went on another channel and they said the same thing. So I'm like, okay, 2 channels says the same thing. Then I went another one. 3 channels are saying the same thing, but this one has a cuter version of like the coop. Like, they almost have dishes like to eat out. So like they make it cute and cuddly. So I'm like, okay, so I love the concept, but the cute and cuddly is not for me. Like we're trying to be frugal here.
Yeah.
So like it started like that, But I think where my education started the most is when I failed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Isn't that the truth? Every failure brings a learning opportunity.
My first gardening year, every single thing that you think that could go wrong in a garden happened to me. Like, I pruned determinate tomatoes, not knowing there was a determinate and indeterminate tomatoes. So I left, like, I had 3 feet tall tomatoes. I removed the first 18 inches of my tomato plant, and then there was like maybe 10 inches left of tomatoes. So I think I had like 2 pounds per plant, and I had 30 plants, something like that. Anyways, it was horrible. My pepper plants I transplanted them way too early. And I had an infestation of vine borers, cucumber beetles, and the whole 9 yards. I lost 70 plants of cucumber, melons, everything in that family. So cucumber, melons, squash, summer squash, like everything, pumpkins, I lost all of it. And I didn't know about it. And that winter, I had a choice. Do I stop? Do I go back to work? Or do I use the colder months to educate myself?
Yep.
And every year I say, okay, I could go back to work. I could go to a 9 to 5 and blah, blah, blah. It would be easier.
Yep.
Easier. I'm going to say it
real
like
quick. I want to say hi to Mandalee Cards and More. Thank you for coming in. And also, who am I? Huga Homestead. Thank you so much for coming in. Question for you, Annie.
I'm listening.
So how are you feeling so you're trying to compensate your homesteading income to replace your previous work income.
Yeah.
Maybe fill in gaps like, buying less groceries, things like that. So you're growing your own vegetables and things, and
Most of them.
raising chickens and
Yeah.
working with someone else to get pork. How are you doing with that? Do you feel like you've replaced 50% of it, 25% so far? Are you looking for other opportunities to maybe sell chickens or sell eggs, or how
I do sell the eggs, not fertilized eggs to my neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
And that covers the cost of my summer feed.
Cool. Mm-hmm.
And in the winter, I do not buy eggs.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to learn to live without or preserve the eggs myself. So I would say that I'm self-sufficient on eggs, but not the feed.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, I like the way that you said that, because a lot of us are working towards self-sufficiency, and maybe we're like, we've got some things nailed, but we feel like we're so far from it. But you're right. Like, we're self-sufficient on eggs. And honestly, with the cost of eggs these days, that's an accomplishment everyone should applaud themselves for it.
Yeah. But the feed, like I have to buy a bag of feed regardless, unless I can come up with like supplement.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I could cut down the cost by a quarter. If I would like put an installation during the summer. I would love to have in my shed like a fodder, FODDER, like you ferment some seeds and then you let them grow.
Yep.
Every 7 days, like you have a new stuff, and I would feed that. But like I would still need to buy the grains for it.
Yeah.
But it would, in the end, it would bring down the cost of the feed.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that's like one of the goals I would like is to have a fodder station as long as I can. Like if I can make it last 9 months in the year, I would be very happy, because I would end up saving on the cost of feed, and I would be able to introduce organic in their feed, because I cannot afford organic feed at the moment.
Oh no. It's so true. The other thing is you can grow fodder inside under grow lights. Because I've done it where I've tried to grow greens and give them that in the winter time. But I mean, one of the things that we look at, and it's not true self-sufficiency, because like you said, you got to buy the feed, but we look at like farm revenue. And so every animal serves a purpose on our farm, and I'm still figuring out Norman's purpose, but Joy.
You did say that you wanted to train him into being a therapy dog, so he has a purpose.
Yeah, he does.
Mhm.
He's the one little guilty pleasure my husband let me have, and I shouldn't say one because I ended up with 2 sets of breeders. Anyway, I digress. But the way we look at things is having, if we're able to sell enough to support back the feed. So, for example, our chickens support themselves by egg sales.
Yeah.
Our
That's great.
pigs have not supported themselves completely this year, but all the piglet sales from last year helped us buy a pallet of feed and hay.
So it brings the cost of your meat operation for you down.
Right. So that's something that we look at. And so even though we're buying the feed and we're not self-sustainable that way, we are self-sustainable from a financial standpoint.
Yeah.
And that's what our goal is so that way we have the animals, yet they're paying for themselves over time. Hopefully there'll be a profit, but I'm really not shooting for tons of money. Let's be real. But just having it out there so we can run it makes my day.
We're trying to, well, obviously our time can never be put in that. Like if we add the time of like us taking care of chickens, taking care of anything,
Right.
it wouldn't, like, not profitable, but it would be different. So we have 3 operations on our homestead that we try to bring in. It's not money, but to bring the cost of our operation down. The first one is the eggs, which helps us pay most of the feed of the year. So that's number 1. Number 2, this year I have a breeder set of rabbits, and I'm bringing in a trio. So I'm going to have 2 females and 1 male. I will not keep them for meat. I will sell the bunnies.
Yeah.
So that under them, I can create a cold manure operation. So that means every time I remove the manure mixed with some bedding, I can just take that and add it to the garden. So it helps me to bring down the cost of their feed and the cost of compost at my house. And it's a smaller animal to maintain. They don't eat that much. And the trio, I can maybe have like a bag every month and a half. 2 months, and if I'm very careful, I can have like a raised bed dedicated to them and supplement their feed. And the third operation we have is we sell 5 meat birds that we raise, and it covers the feed, almost all of the feed. So we practically eat the chickens for free.
Awesome.
That's a good idea.
But like I say, we have to butcher them. So we have to raise them. We have to change their feed. We have to take care of them. If there's a problem, we're taking care of them. We have to harvest them, package them, and store them until the person that reserves 5 every year comes to pick them up.
Yep.
I love that idea.
So yes, we are paying our operation of meat, but it's costing us our time.
Yeah.
Smart.
That is smart. I really like that idea. I think that's something a lot of people could do that get meat birds is plan those with neighbors, friends first.
Yeah, the 4th that I do, last year I wasn't able to do it because I got sick in April, and I was like, I had the C virus, and it took me almost all summer to get back on my feet. I have a seed sale, a seedling sale. So I tried to have a inventory of perennials, like rhubarb, strawberries. What else do I have? Anyways, there's a couple of perennials that I grow. Chocolate mint, stuff like that. I up pot them and sell them. And my leftover tomatoes, peppers, and stuff like that, I sell them also. And that money that I make, I take it to buy my soil.
Love it. That is smart.
Smart.
Absolutely.
So I was going to ask you a question. If you could talk a little bit more about the food struggles where you're located, like we were talking about right before we started.
Since I sacrifice a lot, there's a lot of food I don't buy, and I'm not touched by it. But like salads, for a long time, salads were either unavailable or too expensive. but I became frugal, so I refused to pay $8 for Roman lettuce, or Boston head lettuce was $6.99. Like,
Holy
obviously,
cow.
yeah, it's great. Like, I refuse to buy when I know it's
Yeah,
five,
I know
four or
what
five
you
times the
mean.
price.
Yes, I know
So,
exactly what you mean.
so that means I
I'm
have to.
stubborn like that. Like I haven't. I'm dying. I've got to grow bunching onions soon, and I'm dying for good green onions. And you can find them by the. I mean, tons of good green onions in Arizona, and a lot of it comes from Mexico, right? And you're talking good, big, fat green onions. And up here where we are now, there's just they're puny. They're overpriced. They don't look like good green onions, and I refuse to buy them.
Yeah, the same
I
thing.
know
Like,
exactly what you
there's
mean.
there's a lot of things that I'm seeing in the stores,
Mhm.
that, like broccoli, cauliflower, they look like crap,
Mhm.
and I'm like, mm-mm, I'm not buying that.
Quality's poor, price is high, and it's not.
Yeah, and when I have something in my hands at the store, I always look where it comes from.
Mhm.
Well, obviously, like I said, there's a lot of things here in Canada that we don't grow. Here, it's
Mhm.
mainly the cereals, the corn, and soya.
Mhm.
I do have some fields around where I live of cabbages,
Mhm.
um, pumpkins, blueberries. Like, we do have fields and some
Mhm.
greenhouses that grows tomatoes and peppers, but I find that we could do much better as a country to have much more locally grown food.
Mhm.
Even if it's just sacrificing tomatoes in the colder months, we could have cold hardy crops
Mhm.
instead of importing them
Yep.
from down south.
Yep.
Mhm.
But
Why does anybody do what they do? Who's
yeah,
making
well,
these
I
dishes?
understand. I understand why
It's
they don't do
weird.
it, because not everyone wants to do the work. Like,
Mhm.
when it's outside here, I'm in Celsius. When it's 40 degrees Celsius here, like, it's like you're cooking. Like,
Mhm.
you're not even moving and you're sweating bullets. And when the sun hits your head, like, you have to go in, drink some water, come back out. Like, not everyone wants to work in these conditions.
Yeah.
And in tunnels, it's the same thing. If it's 10 degrees outside, 10 degrees Celsius, I think it's
Mhm.
in the teens for you guys, like chilly temperature, but comfortable. It's
Yeah.
still going to be super hot in the tunnels because
Mhm.
the sun is hitting.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's long hours, it's physical work.
Mhm.
And it seems that only, like, Mexicans and people like in out not United States countries, but like other countries, prefer to come here to
Mhm.
work. So I find that I understand why they need to import these people to come work, because we need the food. But that's why we don't have that much crops here, and we prefer importing.
Yeah.
But I'm a
You know,
hard-headed.
really what you're paying for like if
Mm-hmm.
you will be able to find people to do a job if you pay them well.
Yeah,
Sounds like you're already paying $6 for less. Like, I mean, that should warrant a decent enough paycheck for the people that are doing it, but they're trying to undercut. We could get into, maybe we shouldn't go there because
yeah, we can go down the rabbit hole.
I can talk to that because that's what it's about. And people that will do it are those people maybe that don't recognize how much they're being taken advantage of, or where they were previously was so much worse that to them it's not that bad, and they're building on a community of family. I mean, and I only say this because I know, being in Arizona, about different cultures and how families work together. And some families in certain cultures work together more than they work together in other cultures, and they support one another so that
Yep.
everybody can eventually be successful, but by living together and helping each other survive while one another gets there. I
Yeah,
had a friend whose family, they weren't first generation from Mexico. They were, I don't know, they were close, but they weren't first generation. So maybe they were second or third generation. But legit, they lived with each other, and they had the family. So we're talking siblings and cousins had the skills to where some of them knew how to build. They built homes for one another. Long story short, they supported one another while each sibling bought a piece of property, and then everybody contributed and went and helped to pour the concrete, build the walls, run the electric, run the plumbing, because everyone had a different skill set within the family, and they supported one another in doing this.
It's
And
like it sounds like the Amish.
yeah, yes, that's another culture and family community system that works well, and they have figured it out. And I mean, there's a lot of people, they have a hard time getting along with all their family to do that kind of thing, but
Yeah.
like it's a good route to go if you have the family and you can get along with them to do that, for sure.
Having help is something I do not have. My husband works full time, so I'm a solo homesteader.
Mm-hmm.
He builds the infrastructures
Mm-hmm.
and I take care of it. Like
Yeah.
if there's anything physical that I can't do, obviously he's going to, when he comes back from work, I'm gonna have a list for him and say, okay, this needs to get done. This is an emergency. This can wait, and like blah blah blah. But
Mm-hmm.
the rest, the gardening, the harvesting, the sowing, the transplanting, the weeding, and everything, it's me.
Mhm.
So if you think of going with this lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
go with the knowledge that you're going to work a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's long days, long nights.
Yep.
And when you're in harvest season, if if you sow like multiple times, like example, beets you can sow 2 or 3 times depending your growing zone. Lettuce you can sow up to 4 times depending your growing zone, and rah rah rah.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be harvesting and sowing and transplanting and preserving and canning and freezing and like butchering, and like you're going to be all over the place. And like it starts, like my growing season starts end of February and it stops end of November.
Mm-hmm.
And it's go 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 go.
Really? Wait a minute. When is your last frost date?
My last frost date is in September, but I still preserve. Like I've frozen some stuff because I didn't have time to can it, pressure can it, rah, rah, rah. And when I receive my pork at the end of the season is usually in September or October or November. So
Mm-hmm.
when I get the call that the pork is going to the butcher, I need to empty the freezers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have to get cooking, canning, and preserving. And this year I stopped canning the first week of November.
Mm-hmm.
And I start sowing my first seeds this year in January because I am trying in my tunnel to become a zone 6 4 weeks prior to my growing location.
Have you tried winter jug sowing?
I did.
I have about 7, 8 jugs out in my raised bed right now, and I'm laughing because we're going to be down to -40, and everybody tells me they're going to be fine because they've not sprouted yet.
I'll be honest, for the amount of work and the amount of time that it took me to have 15 jugs last year.
Yep.
I prefer sowing in plug trays with a dome, like a 6-inch dome, and put them in my tunnel and like cover them, with a row cover. Whenever you guys are like, I know there's guidelines for when you can start doing this.
Yeah.
But like you put a row cover over it to make sure that it's protected. And when it's your prime time, you can just remove that row cover, and that 72 plug tray with that dome does exactly the same thing as the jugs. And I have a hard time using milk plastic because the plastic get heated by the sun.
Yep.
And like, I don't know, like a personal, I have a kind of an issue with it, like because there was dairy in it. People loves it. People thrives over it. People only do that because they don't have the grow room. But if I have the space, I prefer doing it with the plug trays.
Yeah.
Because I don't have to store the jugs at the end of the season. I can just like store plug trays one on top of the other and domes. It's like easier.
Well, but the only reason we did it this year is my husband has a CPAP, and so he has to have distilled water.
Okay.
Oh, and you had them.
So he goes through distilled water like you wouldn't believe because we're so dry here. So there's low humidity. So I'm probably the only person who's actually going to have to water my winter jugs because they're not going to get rain. There's no rain here.
Yeah.
Maybe in the spring they'll get it, but they're not
You're
going
going
to
to have some condensation on the
Yeah.
side of the bottles, and they will like kind of self-water themselves.
Yeah.
And you could just, do you have snow?
We're expecting snow now, yeah.
Worst case scenario is you could keep the snow, melt the snow, and then put it inside the jugs when you're ready.
Yep.
Because there is natural fertilizer in snow.
Really?
I never heard that. Really?
Do tell.
In the rain, there's natural fertilizer.
Huh.
In snow, there's natural fertilizer. Have you ever noticed that when you have a good pouring rain, your garden the next day is like green and lush? Not like just like little drizzle. I'm talking about heavy rain, like a good.
Well,
so you're in Arizona. You don't get that much rain.
I
right?
was, and Lisa's in South Dakota, and her and I had the same environment she did. So that pouring rain thing, that doesn't happen very often.
Well, here I'm in a microclimate, so when it rains, it doesn't stay like as much. I don't know if it's because we're surrounded by fields, and we have water in the south and water in the north. And when the, I don't know how you say it, clouds. Sorry, I think in French and then I speak in English. When the clouds pass over our house, I think they are like thrown north or south because of the fields. They're warm, and the water sources kind of throws off every storm clouds that we have. So when it rains, I'm outside and I'm doing like the rain dance and like to make sure that it pours, because it doesn't really pour that much here. And the other thing you can do is you can add, if you have organic hay or organic material, you can put it at the bottom, at the base of your plant. And when you water it, you water it very well, and that bedding will keep it moist longer instead of exposed soil.
Nice.
Yeah, I like that idea. Real quick, hello, Rich Cat Ranch. Thank you so much for coming in. And Carlene Vasseur and Rules for the, appreciate you all joining us. If you guys have any questions for Annie, feel free to put them in the chat.
Look, highlight Cindy Squirrel's last comment.
We used to call snowfalls after we got field crops. A poor man's. Yeah.
Wow.
I actually take the snow on the side of my tunnels and I throw it inside. Like I fill 5-gallon buckets and then I put it on the soil of my high tunnel because it's so dry, and it melts down during the day, and then I add more and more and more. So instead of using a lot of water when I transplant my seedlings in my tunnel, it's already like moist, and I just added natural fertilizer to my soil.
Nice.
So
Awesome.
I'm removing like feet and feet of snow and putting in my tunnel.
That is awesome information, and the first time that I have heard that.
Well, if you don't have that much snow, like I can have a couple of feet. Like right now in front of my house, I probably have 36 inches of snow accumulated.
So jealous. No, we're in a drought, so that's everybody in here is probably tired of me saying it, but I'm so over.
Snow is helpful.
Yeah.
Well, we're having very weird temperatures. In February for us, it's supposed to be like really, really cold. It's the coldest month of the year, but we're having over freezing. Like last week, it was over freezing all week, so they melted down a lot. And now this week, we have like regular temperatures, like minus 20s. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but
it's cold.
Fahrenheit.
Forensic Mystics and Rich Cat Ranch, good to see you all.
Like right now, it's 16 degrees Fahrenheit where we are without the windshield. Here, it's the windshield that kills us.
So you're in a really cold climate.
Yeah. Well, not as Alaska. Alaska has colder temperatures than we do. Like the more you go north in Quebec, the more colder you are. I'm in the southern part of Quebec.
Thank you, Blue. So I'm curious. So you started all this to cover your salary. You feel like you're doing pretty good with that. And you've got the chickens, you've got the rabbits. I've been taking notes. I love your idea of selling the meat birds. If you were to say that of the experience that you've had so far, that one part of homesteading is your favorite over another, which would you say that was?
The harvest. I know it sounds crazy because like it's a lot of work, but
there's the fruit of your labor, right?
But like there's nothing like you're going outside to check on your garden and come back with a basket full of food. And then you snacked on snap peas, you snacked on a lunchbox pepper, and then you see your first tomato. I actually talked to my tomato plants. That's why I'm holding a tomato on my on my profile. Like I talk to them and I'm like, okay, you're green now. So in about 20 to 30 days, you're gonna turn colors. And I make sure to take like good care of my tomato plants. And like that first bite, that first juicy bite of a slicer or a tomato sandwich, it's like it's so rewarding, and it makes all the rest worth it.
Agree 100%. Sure. And you do raised beds.
Yeah.
I hear you on the clay soil because that's mainly what the soil was in Arizona too. A lot of clay soil. So you do the raised beds, a high tunnel, and a greenhouse.
The high tunnel is my greenhouse.
Oh, that is your greenhouse.
Okay. Yeah, because like it's a temple converted structure. A temple is a car structure. Like when you have snow.
Oh yeah.
Like a carport.
Yeah, carport. But like you can disassemble it and reassemble it year after year after year. But mine, I just used it and I put plastic over it.
Awesome.
Because it's cheaper that way. Like I bought an old structure for $40. And I am like at the time I did not know that you could buy greenhouse plastic. So,
I didn't know that either. You can buy greenhouse plastic.
I read in United States, Home Depot has rolls of greenhouse plastic. I didn't know that.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
We don't have that here. I have to go to a specific store that has it, but I didn't know that. But at the time, I just used the plastic that you put in your homes. You know, when you're doing walls, exterior walls, you put a plastic. I'm using that.
Bisqueen.
How you say it?
My husband always called it Bisqueen. He did drywall too before we had the pest control company, but so we would always, he loves to have Bisqueen around. That and like mule tape. I don't know if anybody knows what that. It's actually like, it's cordage and it's about this thick and it's like woven, almost like braided. You know what mule tape is, huh, Lisa?
No,
I think so.
Yeah, and it comes on a huge spool. So there's certain things that he used in his trade that he did for years, but the Bisqueen, that was another one.
So we use the thickest one. Like there's different grades. We just use the thickest one, and it lasts about 2-3 seasons. And then we have to switch it up because of it's not made for that. But it does work. So it brings the temperature up a lot during the summer. So this year I'm going to have cucumbers, melons, and my winter squash in there. And I'm utilizing the side of the tunnel. I put like some ropes and stuff like that. And the pollinators can come on the sides. So the 2 first feet of the tunnel is plastic. Because I don't want my chickens to venture in my tunnel.
Yeah.
And sadly, I have a lot of cats that loves my raised beds in my tunnel. And they scratch and they do their poo-poo and their pee-pee.
Oh, no. Hey, on the plant.
Yeah, so the two first feet are covered in plastic, and it keeps the soil warm. And then the rest of the siding is netting,
Mm-hmm.
so that the netting is 6 by 6.
Mm-hmm.
So birds can come in, bees can come in, any type of pollinators can come in the tunnel, but anything bigger than 6 inch is not welcome.
So you only have a 6-inch gap all the way around your high tunnel.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, it's like it's a trellis. It's a cord trellis that I bought at Amazon, and
Uh-huh.
it's a 6 by 6. So there's
Cool.
maybe like 4 feet, 3, 4 feet of that trellis on the side. So
Uh-huh.
that means if a chicken jumps, because chickens can jump more than
Mm-hmm.
2 feet high, they won't be
Yep.
able to jump in the tunnel.
Yep.
Cats won't be able to jump in because it's
Mm-hmm.
rope. If they try to
Mm-hmm.
jump on it, they're gonna get stuck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I have to redo certain things in my tunnel this year. I will do a tour again. I've been asked
Mm-hmm.
so many questions how I did my structure
Mm-hmm.
that I now know that I'll have, when I redo it, I'm gonna have to do like a full tour of how I've
Mm-hmm.
done it, because a temple converted structure is much cheaper than buying a high tunnel.
Yeah.
So, and we use scrap wood that we had laying around the house that we found on the curb and stuff like that.
Yeah. I love, and Lisa's really good at repurposing things, but that's the way to go, is just
Yeah.
to repurpose things for sure.
Just give me 1 sec.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Sorry. I have a bit more time because my husband's home. He's going to be able to pick up my son, so I'll be able to chat a little bit more with you guys.
Okay. Awesome. I'm enjoying this. Does anybody have questions for Annie?
Yes, I love what Gail says, the first homegrown carrot.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
I
true.
think that's why there's so many adults and children that don't like vegetables, is because all they've ever had are the vegetables from the grocery store, and they just don't taste the same. I mean,
Yeah.
due to maybe the quality of the soil, just the mass production methods that they use, and the GMO foods, like, when they have actually genetically modified a tomato to have a thicker skin so that it's more resistant to insects. They have measured those tomatoes compared to homegrown tomatoes that have not been GMO'd, and found that there's even a difference in the vitamin content of those
Well,
vegetables.
the reasoning behind the tomatoes in the store is not the taste.
Mm-hmm.
It's the travel. So
Yeah.
let's just say in down South Florida, they will grow all their crops for Northern America. So
Mm-hmm.
all our tomatoes. The travel of that tomato has to go through thousands and thousands of miles. So it's
Mm-hmm.
going to be packed. It's going to like go through bumps, cracks, and stuff like that. So it needs to travel all that
Mm-hmm.
time, and therefore the tomato has to be a certain way. And the second thing, a tomato is harvested when the shoulders changed colors,
Mm-hmm.
and it completely changes red just before it arrives at the store. So by taking a freshly grown tomato, removing it from the vine, you're going to have much more nutrient because it was ripe on the vine. When you harvest a
True.
vegetable not in its prime and you let it like reach its prime, you're depriving it of minerals and vitamins because
Mm-hmm.
it was
Yeah.
harvested way too early.
Yep.
But like there's logistics behind the
Mm-hmm.
breeding of the hybrids. It's for
Mm-hmm.
traveling.
Yep. We got a question here for you. Milk and Honey's wondering if you sew.
I would love to. I was gifted an old sewing machine,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't have the time. I do crochet
Mm-hmm.
and knit. I used to I wanted to have an operation of triangle shawls. I
Mm-hmm.
love making crochet triangle shawls, but this winter I decided I was going to take an online course, a market garden oriented course for home gardeners.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the time to craft or do anything, so it's on my bucket list.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I love to sew. I'm not that good at it still. I mean, I've made clothes for the babies, for my grandbabies, and I haven't done any quilting. I love to sew clothes. I've made myself some tops. Everybody's had pajama bottoms, but I haven't, I don't, I could sew it. I can follow the instructions, but I haven't done any of the really fancy stuff.
I'll change location because when my son's gonna arrive, I'm in my kitchen and he
Okay.
might like be very excited. So I'll be right back.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Ecocentric. I mean,
Yep.
there's what, 300 and something million people,
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing is imagine if, all of a sudden it's not available because the crops weren't good.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's one of the funnest things about gardening is just tasting what a vegetable is supposed to taste like.
Sure, sure. I mean, I'm just saying that I get the other side of it too,
Yeah.
because,
You got to feed people.
right, you got to feed people. So they're going to do GMOs so that they
Mm-hmm.
they can't have all crop loss. They
Yep.
can't.
Mm-hmm. Lisa, how are you feeling about like your greenhouse this year?
What do you mean?
You said you got your water jugs that you're using.
Oh,
Let me know how those do. I'm curious how those are going to do through this big storm too. That's
well,
going to be
they're not sprouted yet, so they should
they
be
should
fine.
survive.
And I only did like, broccoli and onions and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. And then I also have stuff started inside as a
Mm-hmm.
backup.
Yep.
I'm trying to start earlier and earlier to be able
Yeah.
to get a jump on the season.
Mm-hmm. I just started some seeds. I'm trying to just start those things like asparagus. I want to have a perennial bed of asparagus. And even Lisa in Arizona, our neighbor, had asparagus growing out back, and he had inherited it from the people that owned the home before him.
Yep.
And with the snows that we got, and we were very similar, to your environment there, that asparagus rocked. Oh my gosh.
We should have asparagus this year. We planted
This will be the
crowns.
second year then?
It's actually the third year, but
Awesome.
we bought crowns and we planted the crowns.
Uh-huh.
And then we had a bunch of asparagus last year, but we trimmed them down.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry, left them there. And then we're hoping to have some, but Ryan keeps adding to it. So like some of it is new this year,
Yeah.
some of it isn't.
Yeah, to get
Just
it
trying to add
really
to it.
big asparagus bed.
Yeah.
That's
And
the
we also planted in that bed with it, because we're going to let the two take over, is horseradish.
Oh, I need some of that.
So horseradish root and asparagus is in the same bed, which are good companion plants.
Mhm.
And then the horseradish root I got from the farmer's market. And so
And just plant a whole root.
yeah, it was already growing in the fall when I put
cool.
it in.
Wow.
And so
Where did you get the asparagus crowns? Because I planted seeds.
Online. If you buy the crowns, you can get certain how many years old they are.
Yeah.
If you don't want to do seeds, if you want to get a jump on it.
Maybe I'll do both and see how it does.
I know that Mackenzie has crowns. I don't know if you guys have Mackenzie. There's Johnny Seeds has some asparagus. There is Baker Creek that has crowns.
Yep.
Botanical interest, I don't think so. I think it's seeds. I know there's a couple of places that you can buy crowns. It depends the age, but usually it's after the third year that they're well established. In mine, I started them from seeds. It's 7 to 10 years.
Yep.
Holy cow! Is it really? Oh my goodness!
But like, think about it. I am at year 6 this year, and I harvested my first asparagus last year.
Wow.
They were little. And like this is fun. Like you start them from seed, you transplant them, you establish them, you put compost every year, and you do nothing. Right. You just let it there, and then every year they're gonna go to seed. The seeds are gonna drop on the ground, and you're gonna have more crowns being established in that raised bed, and then you can just take them out, relocate them a little bit further, and grow year after year after year. But with seeds, you can get different varieties that you don't have in like those places. This year, I'm introducing for the first time crowns purple asparagus.
Yep.
Oh, yum. So
we planted that. They didn't do well, the seeds.
With the asparagus, when you plant the seeds, do you just keep them inside for first several years because they grow?
Oh, no. I plant them. So I just started mine for my seed cell. And I'm going to, when they germinate and they're big enough, I'm going to transplant them either in 3-inch pots or 4-inch pots. Or maybe in plug trays if I don't have enough space. And then when the chance of last frost is finished, I think it's 1 week before your last frost, you can transplant them outside.
Okay.
But
and then they just stayed out there all these years. And even though they're young, they still make it. I didn't know it was 5 to 7 years from seed. I thought it was 2 years.
Well, it depends. It depends. Like some varieties are maybe earlier, but I have Washington, and I was reading between 3 and 7 years.
Wow.
But I'm like, it's one of the things that I neglect the most because I know it's going to be 7 years. So maybe if I was more on my game, maybe it would have been earlier. But I planted them and just let them do their thing.
Yeah. Awesome. That's good to know. Thank you for sharing that.
Same thing with your rhubarb. You can start rhubarb by seed, but it takes at least 2 years before you can start harvesting.
Once it's there,
Has anyone grown marshmallow root?
I did last year grow a marshmallow plant, but here I don't think my plants gets big enough for me to harvest the roots. I don't have a long growing season compared to down south, so I just use it for ornamental.
Does anybody have any questions for Annie? We're at the top of the hour, so we'll be ending here shortly.
Oh, that's smart, Milk and Honey. Good deal.
Oh, she said she's going to try to grow some extra starts. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And I love you sharing about the meat birds and just kind of, I guess I've thought about like selling the eggs, and we're getting our meat birds this Thursday. I'm so excited. I put it on my calendar for work and everything because I'm leaving to go get them birds.
Well, you have to be careful. There are some logistics behind all of this. And like in Quebec, we have so many laws. Same thing in Canada. I try to keep it on a low profile.
Yeah.
I don't want to get flagged.
Yeah.
So like I try to use contacts only for meat. Especially if it's harvested, like you're the one that harvests
friends, neighbors.
Yeah. For plat sales, I try to keep it also very simple. I just do like little ads on social media platforms. And I try to use soil that I did not make my own self. Like I'm not going to go buy compost from a local farm and make my own soil, my potting soil. I'm going to buy organic potting soil to make sure that if I do get flagged, I don't get slapped on the fingers.
Yeah.
Because there's rules and regulations about that.
Yeah.
However, on the other hand, I have a friend who is up in, British Columbia. And she has access to processing a lot easier. Like she'll raise her birds and bring them to the processor. And it seems to be a lot easier way to do it compared to the United States, where we're not able to get a processing date. Everybody's full.
I have something similar. Let's just say that I want a certified organic processed meat. There's one that's an hour and a half away from my house or 2 hours away from my house. I book an appointment 6 to 9 months in advance. And they say, okay, so it's going to cost you this much. It's going to take this much time, but you have to have a travel trailer.
Right.
And a travel trailer, you have to get your livestock adapted to, like, let's just say you raise pigs. Like you have to introduce the pigs to the trailer, back and forth the last month of their life, so that when they embark on that travel trailer, they're not going to be super, super tense. And then you're going to go to the butcher and they're going to be like, well, not scrap the meat, but the meat's going to be like, like stiffened a little bit because of the stress.
Yeah, the adrenaline, yep.
Yeah, so that's why we choose to process our own birds. But if I had the opportunity of having I don't like saying that word, a slaughterhouse near my house, um,
My grandpa had one of those.
like someone before here in Quebec, we had a awesome thing. You had registered people coming to your house.
Mm-hmm.
They would be butchered, official butchers. They were able to come to your house, and it was $5 a bird,
That's
or
cool.
or a certain amount per pig, and
Yeah.
they would do everything on your
Yep.
house, on your farm.
Awesome.
So they would come, clean, harvest, clean, and leave,
Yep.
and you would take care of the packaging.
Mm-hmm.
We're no longer able to do that.
I wish I could do that. I wish that was an option for us.
Seems
I've
like a
seen
good
that.
business idea.
We're not allowed. We're no
Wow.
longer. It was very popular about 5-10 years ago, and rules and regulations had to shut down those businesses. But can you imagine if people recognized by the law of the government, sanitizing and everything, were able to come with a travel trailer with their stuff, like a canteen, like a canteen butcher shop, like you bring
Yep.
the animal, harvest it, bring it in the shop that's like
Yeah.
cold enough to process the meat.
Mm-hmm.
They would run like they would probably have a waiting list.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's so many skills that we all have to just acquire right now.
Mm.
And I feel like that's just what we have to do because it's getting harder and harder to be able to afford some of the things that we might have just paid for before. And also just the quality of talking about meat in particular, the quality of the meat at the store. Like
I no longer buy meat at the store.
I'm getting really nervous
Me
about
either.
buying any meat. We still have to, and I want to
Right.
get away from that.
If
So,
I have no choice,
mhm.
I only buy Costco meat.
Yeah. But now there's so many things they're pumping into our livestock and our meat that we see in the supermarket while, before it's processed. And and now they're talking about expanding it to include other things, and it's words that I can't say on
I
YouTube.
know. I read the
Yeah.
articles. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And I don't.
there is there is organic meat at Costco, and you can buy it in bulk. So buying it in bulk is actually bringing the cost per pound down,
Mm-hmm.
but you will never know
Yeah.
what is certified organic, because now when you go under the certification of organic, it's the lesser evil.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
you're still consuming certain things,
Mm-hmm.
but there's things that are excluded. So GMO feed and stuff like that, and certain
Yeah.
vaccination are not approved.
Yeah.
But you're like, so when you go in the store and you say, okay, I'm going to buy organic, you're going with the mind that you're buying the lesser evil food.
Mm-hmm.
Or there's another thing, on the packages, there's certain companies that say that they are as natural as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to go towards those meat if I have to, or I trade.
Mm-hmm.
I traded ducklings for meat last
Mm-hmm.
year. I had 6 pure breed ducklings that I wanted to sell, and then my friend's like, "Well, do you want to trade?" And I'm like, "Trade for what?" And she gave me beef,
Mm-hmm.
pasture raised beef, and moose
Mm-hmm.
for the equivalent like
Yeah.
dollar value
Yeah.
per pound
Mm-hmm.
towards my ducklings, and we made
Yeah. I
switch.
love that.
Yeah.
What a great barter.
Yeah, Trilla.
Mm-hmm.
Barter is something that you need to learn, and
Yeah.
if you're an electrician, you should barter your time.
Yeah.
If you're a hydraulic mechanical person, you can barter your time. Like you
Absolutely.
say, I'm gonna help you out with your car. I just want a dozen of egg per. Let's just say, I don't know how much eggs are at the moment, but let's just say like it's $5 a dozen.
Yeah.
In dollar value, you exchange it for a certain amount of dozen eggs.
I have one question that I just thought of as you're
Yeah.
talking. I'm not sure if you want to share what you did professionally before you started the homestead, but I'm curious if if you don't want to share that piece of it, I'm curious if what you did before has helped you with what you do on the homestead now in any way.
No, I was an office assistant.
What
So
organization?
I don't want to say because it's known throughout Canada and United States.
Oh, okay.
So
No. I meant like organizational skills.
oh well,
From being an office assistant probably helps a little bit, right?
I was in charge of coordinating install for loading docks,
Uh-huh.
and I was doing almost everything that was administration. So I was doing hours, I was doing like the tax hours,
Uh-huh.
I was opening, closing POs, purchasing, invoicing, phone calls, like
Mhm.
everything. There was only two of us in
Mhm.
the Montreal office.
Mhm.
So Montreal is this Quebec. It's a city, one of the biggest cities of Quebec,
Uh-huh.
and like I was pretty much doing every single thing you can think about administration wise. Like I
Yeah.
was building charts. I was closing the months. I was not doing the physical closing of the months, but I was assisting the other offices in Canada to close
Mhm.
financially the months. The inventory process, I was doing that. So there are some skills.
Yeah, some skills. I like to think that even it's the same here. Like what I do, I don't to thinking of what carries over to the homesteading life. I think that the experience does. It's a little different in how we apply it
Yep.
with what we use. And a
Yep.
lot of it comes to how we think, like, and how we routinely think about things and the way that we look at it, because we're going to look at it from a different perspective, given our own background
Right.
experience. And Lisa too. I think that it does. So thank you for sharing that. I think
Absolutely.
I like to share that because I don't know, a lot of people that might want to do this, they might think, I've not had any experience in homesteading. I don't know where I would begin. I don't know what I would do. And I feel like I just want people to say, if that's what you want to do it, because you're going to figure it out and you're going to bring a little something, something to the table that maybe somebody else doesn't, because each individual is going to be unique in their own background and their perspective of how they look at things, you know?
The first thing you need to do is sow a seed
Mm-hmm.
and watch it grow.
Yeah.
But I'm not talking about the seed. I'm just talking about sow the idea.
Yeah.
If
Oh,
you
good one, Annie.
if you sow the idea of a homestead or a garden, if you just want to do gardening, it's fine too,
Yeah.
because you don't there are some people that don't have the land to grow to raise their own meat. So
Hmm.
start the idea of a garden and
Mm-hmm.
just start from there.
Yeah.
You're gonna see. I've spent hours on social media trying to find the design I wanted to do for my garden, because a
Mm-hmm.
garden has to be food wise, but also that you can add beauty to it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's so many things you can do just by sowing the idea of a garden or a homestead,
Yeah. Love that.
because
Thank you for
you're
sharing that.
daydreaming of that day, and then
And we did. I know. Okay. So we always managed to, I didn't know necessarily call it a homestead, but we had chickens. We had, you know, a couple of ducks. I'm not a duck fan. Don't mind. We had
they are messy. They are very messy.
horses and we had goats. Like we did this, right? But we were in the valley, meaning like in just outside of the city, right? So, and I kept telling him, like, we need to change something. We need a lifestyle. I started sowing that seed, and I was even reading books on it, like design your life, like these kinds of books, right? To really get into some thinking. And we got out of the valley, got to, just basically out of town, essentially. And now we're in Missouri, and we're on the bigger property. But it all started with, you're right, Annie, sowing the seed of thought. I love that. That's
Because if you have an idea, like just
how it starts.
if you put that in the ground, well, in your mind or in the
Mhm.
ground,
Yeah.
it's gonna grow
Yep.
much more than just reading.
Yep.
because you can do all the reading in the world.
Sow it, pray over it,
Yeah.
think about it, and plan.
Yeah. And there's one thing that people don't understand when you're homesteading. There's things that are super important. Knowledge is important. But resting is something that people don't do.
Yeah.
And every single year I crash.
I'm good at that.
I don't know if you know this challenge. Three Rivers Homestead do Every Little Bit Counts challenge in August. I do that, and every year I crash on September 4th. So it's like the first week of September. And when I say crash, like I don't know what to do with myself. Like I lose all my motivation. I don't want to do anything. But September is still very young in your season. Like you still have at least a month and a half to go. So last year I decided I was going to let go of many things. If I've tried something, it doesn't work, I'm going to try a second time. If it still doesn't work, I'm going to let it go.
Yeah.
Because if I can't do everything on my own.
Right.
You got to pick and choose what you spend your time on.
Pick and choose. And if you lose a battle, it's not the end of the world. Learn from it, adjust from it, and then next season do it differently.
Just throwing this out there, but something else that you did keep on your list, maybe you're going to get better at, to the point of increasing your efficiency to where you could tackle it again later.
Yeah. And since last year I got sick, I had to
Me
rest.
too. Do you see
I had
that?
to rest.
I'm not the only one that liked that.
And like I had a hard 4 weeks. Like I was sick for about 5 days. I was in bed most of the time. And then it took me at least 3 weeks after that, like to get back in the groove of things. Like I was always sleeping. Like you can't sleep in the month of May. Like I was 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I was sleeping.
Yeah.
So resting is something that's super important. It's
so the next time anybody's feeling lazy, because that's what we say, right? I had a lazy day. I feel really lazy today. Let yourself tell yourself it's okay. Lisa gave me that advice before, and Lisa, I have been taking it.
Good.
When I have had, because I've had, on the weekend, I've had, I don't know, almost seems like it's every third weekend. If I was to like really try to quantify it and be exact, that comes from what I do for a living. So if I was trying to do that, I'd say it's about every third weekend I end up with a lazy day where I feel like I'm not doing a whole lot. I kind of putter around and I get a little bit done, but I'm definitely not pushing it. And I've been telling myself, this is good. I need this.
Yeah, our soul needs it. Our mind needs it.
Yeah.
This season, I'm trying to have an afternoon off. Like Sunday, it's supposed to be the day that you go to church and you're supposed to be with your families, your in-laws, and rah, rah. Sadly, I don't have that. So Sundays afternoon, I really want to tackle my chore list in the morning. And then in the afternoon, not do nothing, but like orient myself to resting my mind, spending time with my family, my children, my husband, going outside of the farm, exploring adventures for a couple of hours, picnics, and just like tomorrow, the chores are still going to get done.
Yep.
But like an afternoon off in the prime of the season, like probably will help me more than if I would just keep on working, and then crash at the end of the season.
Agree 100%. So I know we are well over. Thank you, everybody, for watching us today and coming by to share this information from Anny. Anny, I would love to have you back again sometime in the future if you would be interested.
Sure. Now, today, I was able to stay the full hour, but you guys, it's noon for you, right? No, it's 1:20, right?
For me, and 12:20 for Lisa.
Okay. Right now for me, it's 2 o'clock. My son finishes school at 2 o'clock. So if I am to come next time, it will be for 45 minutes.
Okay. Sounds good.
Unless I can beg my husband to finish early that day.
I got a lot out of this today. And
thank you so much.
I don't know if you saw someone else say, Milk and Honey, you gave me a great quote, loving the plant, the seed, and we're not just talking about vegetables.
Yeah.
Seed of thought. I love that.
And as a woman being a homesteader, it's sometimes hard because there's limitations.
Yeah.
There's so many, well, there are some limitations in what we can do,
Mm-hmm.
but I would love to inspire everyone just to sow that thought, that
Yep.
dream to grow, even if it's basil on their windowsill.
Yep.
You're welcome. I'm guessing there's Anna's, you meant Annie.
Honey.
Welcome, Milk and Honey Heritage Farm.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Thank you, Annie. And thank you, everybody, for coming in today. I hope you all have a great rest of your week. And next week, I have to shake it up again. Next week, we're going to be on Monday instead of Tuesday. And we're going to have Indiana Backyard Gardener joining gardening. So looking forward to that. So we'll see you next Monday. Have a great rest of your week. Thank you so much again, Annie,
Hi,
for
everyone.
coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye, everybody.